You better watch it. You're going to get run over by a truck.
Donald Trump, welcome to Meet the Press.
Well, thank you very much, Tim.
There have been some polls taken recently by Newsweek and ABC News. Let me put those on the board. And they say that 77% told ABC News, 73% told Newsweek they would not vote for Donald Trump under any circumstances. That's a lot of people.
Hey, polls are very interesting. I could put out a poll, would you vote for the brilliant entrepreneur Donald Trump? And everyone's going to say yes. Or I could put a poll, would you vote for this terrible human being named Donald Trump? And they're going to say no. So, you know, polls are sort of strange.
Tomorrow, Pat Buchanan is announcing that he will be a candidate for the presidency on the Reform Party.
I just think it's ridiculous. I mean, he wrote
Why?
a book because, look, he's a Hitler lover. I guess he's an anti-Semite. He doesn't like the blacks. He doesn't like the gays. It's just incredible that anybody could embrace this guy. And maybe he'll get 4 or 5% of the vote, and it'll be a really staunch, right, wacko vote. I'm not even sure if it's right. It's just a wacko vote. And I just can't imagine that anybody can take him seriously.
Anytime anyone runs for president, they're scrutinized. And they look into people's background, the so-called character issue.
Right.
This is what you told CNBC last year, which raised a lot of eyebrows, and I'll put it on the screen. Can you imagine how controversial I'd be? You think about Clinton with the women. How about me with the women? Can you imagine?
Well, I mean, I think there is a certain controversy to me, and I am single, and I do go out with women, and I do respect and adore women. And some women love me, and probably some women don't. But I am certainly controversial. But I also am a great businessman. I'd make the greatest treaties that this country's seen in a long time. Other countries wouldn't be ripping us off like they're doing. When you look at what Japan's been doing to us for so many years and decades, I mean, they wouldn't be ripping us like they are, and things would happen.
But when you say that if the president had had a fling with a supermodel rather than Monica,
but I didn't say
be
that.
A hero.
I said there are those that say that if he had a fling with a supermodel, he would be everyone's hero. I didn't say that I said it.
Do you believe it?
It's possible.
Let me show you what you said about women in your book and give you a chance to respond. This is helpful. Women have one of the great acts of all time. The smart ones act very feminine and needy, but inside they're real killers. I've seen women manipulate men with just a twitch of their eye or perhaps another body part.
Well, you know that. I mean, you're married to an incredible woman, and I'm sure she manipulates you beautifully.
When women see or hear that on the screen, however, don't they say, Donald,
I think they respect it.
Donald Trump, isn't that a little bit over the line?
I'm saying women may be beyond us, you and I. I mean, they're smart, they're cunning.
They're killers.
They're killers in many respects.
That's what you said.
Absolutely. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying in many respects. And I've seen women that are so tough they make us wince.
Let me talk about some of the issues. One is North Korea. And you say that you, as president, would be willing to launch a preemptive strike against North Korea's nuclear capability.
First, I'd negotiate. I would negotiate like crazy. And I'd make sure that we tried to get the best deal possible. But look, Tim, if a man walks up to you on a street in Washington, because this doesn't happen, of course, in New York, but if a man walks up and puts a gun to your head and says, give me your money, wouldn't you rather know where he's coming from before he had the gun in his hand? And these people, in 3 or 4 years, are going to be having nuclear weapons. They're going to have those weapons pointed all over the world, and specifically at the United States. And wouldn't you be better off solving this really potentially unbelievable, and the biggest problem, I mean, we can talk about the economy, we can talk about Social Security. The biggest problem this world has is nuclear proliferation. And we have a country out there in North Korea, which is sort of wacko, which is not a bunch of dummies, and they are going out and they are developing nuclear weapons. And they're not doing it because they're having fun doing it. They're doing it for a reason. And wouldn't it be good to sit down and really negotiate something, and ideally negotiate? Now, if that negotiation doesn't work, you better solve the problem now than solve it later, Tim. And you know it, and every politician knows it, and nobody wants to talk about it. Jimmy Carter, who I really like, and he went over there. It was so soft. These people are laughing at us.
Tax cuts. The Reform Party platform says no tax cuts, until we pay off the entire debt. Donald Trump says cut taxes.
I think you can do a combination of both. I think if we go back and negotiate with Japan and Germany and lots of countries, France, that are just ripping us, Saudi Arabia, you look at these deficits, that are just ripping us big league, I think you can do a combination of tax cuts and pay off the national debt. I mean, this country loses trillions of dollars in bad deals that we make with really countries like Japan, with the cars. You try and sell an American car in Japan. By the time it gets off the boat is sitting there 40 weeks as they're trying to get the first car off the boat. I mean, they're just ripping us, and they're ripping us big league. And
how big of a tax cut?
A substantial tax cut in line with the top Republican numbers.
$800 billion.
Yes, in line with the top Republican numbers, which aren't going to happen. but that happened if I was involved.
People will say to Donald Trump, who are you to tell us how to run a government, to balance a budget? 4 of your companies went bankrupt, Mr. Trump.
You know what? Absolutely. And I have, of the 71 companies I have, and by the way, those 4 that I threw into a chapter, and they were just 4, not me personally, these were just 4 out of many, many companies in very bad times caused by the Bill Bradleys of the world who created a ridiculous tax structure for the country in order to save money. Those 4 companies did very, very well. In other words, I used the system as to my advantage, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Immigration. Reform Party platform says, let's hold back on immigration. Let's bring the numbers down. Donald Trump says.
I agree. I agree. I think that too many people are flowing into the country. We have to take care of our own first. We must take care of our own. I agree with that 100%.
Trade. NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement.
Bad.
Repeal
Very
it?
bad. I hate it. I never liked it. And the only reason we're doing all right is that the economy's okay right now. If the economy goes down the toilet, the NAFTA will be a disaster for this country. The choice of people and the choice of leadership, financially speaking, hey, who knows better about hard times than me? I had a company. It was doing well. I had tremendous debt like this country. And in 1990, the whole country, it just went very, very bad. Friends of mine went bankrupt. They went out of business, never to be heard from again. I went out, and my company is now much bigger, much stronger, much more powerful than it ever was before. So, I mean, I understand this stuff. I understand good times, and I understand bad times. I mean, why? Is a politician going to do a better job than I am?
Let me ask you about some social issues. You think gays should be allowed to be married?
It's something I haven't given lots of thought to. I live in New York City. There's a tremendous movement on to have and allow gay marriage. It's just something that is too premature for me to comment on.
How about gays serving in the military?
It would not disturb me. Again, I'd want to talk to lots of experts within the military, but it's not something that would disturb me. I mean, hey, I lived in New York City and Manhattan all my life, okay? So, you know, my views are a little bit different than if I lived in Iowa, perhaps, but it's not something that would disturb me.
Partial birth abortion, the eliminating of abortion in the 3rd trimester, big issue in Washington. Would President Trump ban partial birth abortion?
Well, look, I'm very pro-choice. I hate the concept of abortion. I hate it. I hate everything it stands for. I cringe when I listen to people debating the subject. But I just believe in choice. And again, it may be a little bit of a New York background because there is some different attitude in different parts of the country. And, you know, I was raised in New York and grew up and work and everything else in New York City. But I am strongly for choice, and yet I hate the concept of abortion.
But you would not ban it?
No.
Or ban partial birth abortion?
No, I am pro-choice in every respect and as far as it goes, but I just hate it.
What do you think the most important issue facing our country is?
Well, I happen to think, as I said before, I really think that the world is becoming an unbelievable pot of nuclear weapons. You look at India, you look at Pakistan, you look at North Korea, China. The world is becoming a very, very dangerous place. My uncle, who was a great professor at MIT, he passed away, Dr. John Trump. He said that someday you'll be able to have a suitcase, walk into the middle of Manhattan, and the island is gone for 200 miles around. And you know what? That was 20 years ago he told me that, and he's not so far wrong. We have to control the nuclear problem, or you and me and everybody else, we're not going to be around here to be talking about, gee whiz, the economy's not so great.
Donald Trump, we thank you for joining us. And if you, in fact, announce for president, we hope you come back to meet the press.
Thank you very much.